Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode and new park for Planet Coaster. So, you guys have been probably wondering what the new theme is, and I can go ahead and let you guys know now. With the release of Pokemon Go and how much hype and how much everyone's been playing it. I've been playing it since day one, going out, walking pretty much every day, and in my opinion, it's such a great kind of experience that I feel like, because I'm so excited for the game, and it really makes me kind of relive, I guess, my childhood a little bit from the 90s, that we're just going to go ahead and build a Pokemon kind of theme park here. And so the first building that we're going to construct is Professor Oak's house. This is based off the anime from like season 1. So, if it looks different later on, I haven't kept up with it. To me, the first generation of Pokemon is the best generation, so therefore, that's what I'm going to reference in these builds. So, to do that roof, we're using the top part of the brass kind of window there, because the roof should be red, and we don't have, obviously, any red roof tile pieces. And to get this effect, I've seen some people use this kind of red roof. I think Silverat's using it now in his current park. And I really like the look of it. So I went ahead and started doing that. It's not quite perfect of a color. It should probably be a little bit more saturated. But, for the red, that color that we have, that's pretty much it. Also, the cool thing about the Pokemon, I guess the Professor Oak's house, is the fact that it has this very thick, wide kind of overhang for the roof. I forget the technical term for that for some reason. But, it's kind of, I guess, a very simple anime style design. And so to recreate it is actually relatively quick. In essence, in concept, but to get all these parts in the right spot can take a little bit of time. Now, at the top part of the roof, the windows do round off, and we don't have any round modern windows. And so what I'm doing here is taking one of the door frames, sinking that in, and using the stone as kind of the base window frame itself. And then we're going to sink in the modern window behind that to try and get this rounded top effect to go on. Now, this Professor Oak's house, it's going to end up being, I think, if I can get it to fit, I really want to, it will be a coaster station. In fact, this will be the coaster station for the one and only coaster that I'm going to build for this park. It's going to be a smaller park than the last one, because I want to try and maybe get more detail in, and then also try to make it run better overall. So if I build something smaller, hopefully I can keep and maintain the higher, I guess, frame rate for longer, as the last part got a little too big for my computer to handle. So basically, the basic shape is complete at this point. There's some gaps in the roofing because I didn't quite get the grid correct, but that gave me an opportunity to actually put in some ribbing across of it. That's not really based off of anything. I just thought it might add a little extra layer of detail that might have been missing. It's a relatively flat structure, as kind of the Pokemon, I guess, genre and their buildings, because it's based off of Game Boy games mainly, is that their designs are really simple, boxy, and relatively, I guess, plain. They don't have a whole lot of detail to them, but I'm gonna try and squeeze in a little bit extra, just, I guess, for me and my sake, to make it look a little bit more unique. Now, I was gonna use the wooden kind of sign there to make the roof on the main normal peaked section, but that really wasn't gonna work. And I didn't like the way that was, I guess the colors were too different from the two sides. And so I'm going to have to use, I guess, more of that brass window. And to save on pieces, essentially what I did was to keep it flat onto the roof and use the bottom wood and the top wood kind of piece, and just made a straight line until they became one whole section of wood. So that did save a little bit of room, but obviously if you have too many of these roofing elements, that's going to create a little bit of a problem in the long run. So again, this is, just the house initially, and then eventually we're going to do a little bit of a skip, and that skip is me going to, I guess I'm trying to lay out the hill that his house is on, and then also get started on the back little windmill, because his house has like this windmill element on the back side of it, which really, in my opinion, is a really ugly kind of windmill. It's almost at like a 60-degree angle, and it's just a cone with some blades. Now I couldn't really probably do that and make it look good with the pieces that we have, and so I had to kind of adjust that a little bit to at least make it work in Planet Coaster as best as possible. But overall, I think if you guys know the anime or know Pokemon kind of in general, this passes as a recreation of Oak's house, and really I'm generally overall happy with the way it turned out. Adding some elements to keep it kind of nice and clean looking, trying to put some window trims around the modern stuff just to make them pop out a little bit more. Just having the plain window without any framing elements, to me, just looks a little too boring, so I have to try and come up with different ways to add things. And luckily, it's kind of a mirrored structure on the front and the back side, so it was relatively quick to copy it over and make everything fit again. And yeah, overall happy with how that turned out. So here's the skip. This is how I put together the windmill. Essentially what I did was I made a column out of the sandstone quarter pieces, and then using one of the marble details, I was able to slowly wrap it around to make this cylinder that extrudes up and above the roof line. Now here, I thought I was gonna do a cone roof somehow, but I didn't really understand how I wanted to complete that, and so I leave it for a bit and start working on some other things. I laid out some more terrain working to see, this is the main queue line for the coaster, and pathing on raised elements like this, in my opinion, is just so hard to do in Planet Coaster. I wish they had a little bit of a better system with how the path interacts with the terrain, and it doesn't behave quite how one would expect when they're actually laying it down. So the main path up to his house is covered with bushes on either side of it, and then his front yard is kind of on a slope a little bit, and then his backyard is kind of just kind of near a river, and it's surrounded by forest and woods. So that's going to be something we're going to have to try and capture on at least a micro scale, because obviously I'm not going to be able to build all of like Vermilion Forest or anything like that. I just need to capture, I guess, the base elements to make it look like it was pulled from the same world. So the curved staircase, I'm pretty happy with. We're using the Q line because, one, it'll eventually be a coaster station, and then two, that is the only gray concrete texture in the game. I kind of wish they had that for normal pathing as well, because I think that's kind of an element that would be super handy. And we just need more color variation in our pathing to try and make things a little bit better. So it curves around the front, and then I'm going to have to flatten out a whole bunch of land so the pathing can actually behave. And the main road in Pallet Town kind of cuts in front of his home. This river isn't really there, I don't think, but I put it there as I feel like we need some interesting elements. Unlike the Roman kind of build, I want to try and mess with different height layers and mess with different kind of pathing elements instead of this kind of grid-like pathing that we were doing previously. So trying to expand at least my skills in the game in general, I think that's going to benefit everyone, and hopefully you guys can learn some things eventually, if I can somewhat explain how any of this works. The bridges I'm coloring red just to make the color variation a little bit different, and I'm going to be trying to add some more, I guess, some more garden areas out of the pathing itself. I feel like that'll be something important to do down the line. And then at this point, you know, we're not going to do any other structures. It's pretty much just adding some trees, some bushes, trying to fill in the area and get the, I guess, the general park up to a good stopping point, and then we'll be able to call it done. So this here, you know, the way the stairs are above the terrain, just trying to fill that in with greenery and then also some rocks. Gonna make a little bit of a sandy path for the backyard and the side yard, and then also a little bit of a wooden fence here because obviously he lives up on a pretty big hill, so you know you want a short fence just so people don't like trip and fall down the hillside. At this point, gonna go ahead and put the blades onto the windmill. Now, the blades, I believe on my reference picture, are like yellow. I don't know why, but I went ahead and made these ones out of wood because I feel like that's probably the, I guess, the best material we have to work with in Planet Coaster to do so. And overall, I'm happy with the blades. It's a really simple kind of design, which is, you know, fine by me. It's heavily referencing the source material, so, you know, if the source material is simple, I'm gonna make a simple windmill. It's definitely not the best windmill I think I've ever made. You know, I think the Stonehearth windmill is probably a little bit cooler looking, but this one turned out, you know, well enough that I think it's fine to keep. And then we're gonna put the coned roof on it as well. And the best block I found to do that with was just the molding piece, and we're gonna just basically make a simple cone that wraps around the top here, about a 15-degree angle or so. And you know, manually doing these cones elements, one, they take up a lot of block counts. You know, this is a lot of vertices that the game's rendering, so I have to try not to do this too often. But luckily, I think this structure is going to be one of the more complicated structures. Most of the other ones will be a little bit more boxy and plain, but will at least fit the theme in the most part. But the best way to do this, of course, is do a quarter section, then copy that quarter section around, and then you have a full circle and a full cone effect. So it turned out okay. Again, the source material, the cone is the whole structure, but I feel like that would have been too annoying, and it might not have looked too good in Planet Coaster. So a cylinder with a cone roof, I think, is fine. Also adding a little bit of a trim as the bottom was a little bit messy, and then also adding an element on the top as the top became a little messy by making all those blocks there. So that's gonna pretty much do us for the speed build section. You know, I'm just gonna go ahead and add some more kind of shrubberies and garden elements, and then we're gonna go ahead and look at this in real time so you guys can kind of take it in and hopefully give me any feedback, suggestions as to what maybe Pokemon inspired stuff I should do, and then we'll finish it there. So here we go. Alright, so welcome everyone to Professor Oak's home. I think it turned out really well. We have obviously a nice hill that it's perched on top of. Here is the nice little view coming from the actual staircase itself. I really like kind of the fact that you're surrounded by all these bushes and things as you're coming up, and then as you round the corner, it just kind of appears and really, in my opinion, takes your breath away a little bit, in the sense that you know, it's a nice clean kind of structure. Though I do kind of wish, if I would change anything, is the fact that I had to use columns to do this arched kind of barn roof here, and I really wish it was as white as the clean modern stuff. The modern columns and things like that are kind of gridlocked, and so therefore I had to use the the pillars, the Corinthian pillars and things like that to actually get this thing to wrap around the top and sides. But beyond that, everything else I guess worked out as planned. Let's go ahead into the backyard here. Now I do want to end up hooking up this pathing and getting it functional, and so people can actually return back down from the ride itself. So they will come up here, take a ride on the coaster, come out the back door, and then through the garden kind of area, wrap around back to the main path. I think that'll be a pretty cool effect, and really get some people moving up into this area. In general, I think will be quite the challenge. So, yeah, we added some windows on the back side of the windmill here. It is there based on, I guess, the reference pictures that I had, and then also added this little side bridge as maybe an access point into the forest. That's gonna take up most of this hillside here. I just need to plant a whole bunch of trees, place down a whole bunch of rocks, and then that'll look pretty nice. You can kind of see this is eventually going to be a little stream area that's kind of surrounding here. The source is going to come out of the mountainside itself and then kind of flow and split across, creating kind of this divot here. And then another source will flow this way and then off into the forest over there. So I think that turned out really well. I do want to make a custom kind of ticket booth over here, something that's not a part of the default, and I do want to kind of isolate the park away from that, just so we can have kind of this is what everything would look like in whole. And then we'll build a few homes in here, though I think this section I might turn into more pallet town homes. This section I might add like the first mart and also the first kind of Pokestop that you would come to. Yeah, so again, I've been playing so much Pokemon Go. This has just been so much fun for me to build, as everyone's kind of going Poke crazy here lately, and it's just nice to break away and hopefully do something that you guys haven't seen yet in Planet Coaster. The Roman stuff was done before, and so doing something a little bit more fresh and a little bit more unique, I feel like is a nice change of pace, at least for me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos, as I do some pretty cool creative stuff. Otherwise, go ahead and leave a like if you guys are enjoying this new theme set. And go ahead and leave suggestions, things to add, things to change. You guys know what to do by now. And until then, I'll see you guys later. I'm off to go catch some Pokemon, and also I'll be out of town over the weekend, so no videos for that. I didn't really have time to pre-record anything for you guys, so sadly there's going to be a bit of a lull in content. So until then, I'll see you guys in some more Planet Coaster.